Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick.
This is a less hairy Justin.
That is a less hairy Justin indeed. Welcome to the Hangar Bay, our weekly show where we talk about your submitted X-Wing lists.
And hot off the heels with a new ship that is now hyperspace legal for scum.
Indeed. The STARVIPER. This is a really, really cool ship.
Yeah, you're quite a fan of this one, aren't you?
I am indeed. I liked what they did in first edition in terms of giving it its fix. When it first came out, this ship was terrible. Terrible, overcosted, didn't really do anything special in the game. Paled in comparison to things like the Time Scepter on the Empire faction, that kind of stuff. Which was kind of what FFG were going for with this ship. It's got boost and barrel roll, 3 red, 3 green, but it's got a shield. It also came with auto thrusters, a card that was very important or infamous, depending on how you look at it in first edition. It was sort of the beginning of less variance with the dice. More, you roll dice, you know exactly what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, even I had to buy one of these at one stage.
Pretty much, if you needed auto thrusters for first edition, that's how you got it. It did eventually come out again in a TIE silencer, but that was years after the STARVIPER was released, so that really wasn't an ideal situation. And we're not really having situations like that in second edition. Thankfully, very, very important cards are either in the core set or conversion kits or squad packs. We're getting collections of stuff pretty good now. In terms of what FFG did to fix it, if you take a look at the new version of the card, this baked-in ability micro thrusters is actually the fix they originally gave it in first edition.
Oh, really?
Yes, indeed. These curved barrel rolls are very, very nice. I remember when this was announced and a lot of us Scum fans looked at it and went, that could be fun. I guess. Who knows? This curved barrel rolls. I mean, it could be. It's insane. When we finally got that onto the table, what we were able to do with that, with shenanigans like advanced sensors being able to do the barrel roll before you move or boost before you move, it turned this ship into... I just playtested it with this morning, actually, and my opponent said this perfectly. You cannot tell where the ship's going to end up.
Yeah.
There is no other ship that has that level of unpredictability.
So the only thing I can think of that's possibly similar with the STARVIPER in terms of unpredictability is Kylo with supernatural reflexes, but that's...
You got to pay for that.
Yeah, ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there's a reason that's ridiculously expensive. I mean, at the end of the day, the STARVIPERs don't have the same offensive capability as Kylo. They don't have force and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the spice on the ship is the fact that, yes, you can do all these unpredictable things, but it's usually at the cost of tokening up, which actually makes it very fair. S-loops off the back of curved barrel rolls are great, but guess what? You're going to be in a great position with no tokens, so you've got to be really, really careful with this kind of stuff. I've been stung by that many, many times. You do have to be very careful with this platform, but its positioning is phenomenal, and that is really the main juice with this ship.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we are looking at a platform with 3 red dice, 3 green dice, 4 hull, a shield. The micro thrusters baked-in ability, focus or calculate in the case of Guri. Target lock, barrel roll and boost, and both of those link into a red focus or calculate.
So the upgrades here are sensor, torpedo, modification, and title.
Yeah, and I think everything but the torpedo is relevant here. It's very, very dangerous putting on a torpedo on a ship that is very fragile, also is already quite hungry for its actions because of the way it builds out. But apart from that, look, sensors means you can get fire control systems, advanced sensors. Collision detector as well is also a great fun one.
Yeah.
Modifications means you can do shield upgrade if you want. I'm not a fan of doing this. I've spoken about shield upgrade before, I don't have to repeat myself.
But especially Virago gives you 2 shield anyway.
That's right, yes, which is the title you can take.
Yeah.
What I do like with the modification slot, and we'll talk more about this in the list, is the ability to take afterburners. Just came down to 6 points, actually feels pretty relevant on this ship.
You can do your 3 S-loop and then still boost in.
That's right.
Be more aggressive. It's feels good.
I mean, if you want to be really crazy, you can take advanced sensors, do a barrel roll, do your 3 S-loop, and then boost. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just more positioning on something that can already position really well. It doesn't give you any tokens, so that tactic may not be ideal. But we do have one pilot in particular. In fact, let's just say this right now. All the hype is around Guri.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring up Afterburners is because Guri wants to be in range 1, and boosting is going to help with that. So it's something to look out for. It's another 6 points on a ship that was already quite expensive. Guri is 63 points as is. She is not a cheap platform.
Yeah, especially considering that the Black Sun Enforcer is only 46 points.
Ooh, 17 points less.
But at Initiative 5, that's pretty good.
Yeah, oh look, Guri is a true ace, and Scum Faction very rarely get access to these kind of things. In fact, Guri, Fen Rao, and Old Terok, all the things... People are playing around with these archetypes, and I don't know if they quite deliver the same efficiency as like the Imperial Aces. But they're all hyperspace legal now, so
that feels good.
That may be a consideration. So I'll just say at the top of this video, yes, every single one of these submissions includes Guri. I actually had a look back. Apart from a few old lists that have the wrong points on them now, every submission we've had up until that point has Guri in it, because it is all the hype. It's similar to Vader on the TIE Advanced V1 or X1, whichever one Vader's on. All the hype is around Guri because this is such an ace platform, and Guri has gone up to Initiative 5. She used to be PS5, which is like the equivalent now of Initiative 3.
Yeah.
But I think FFG made the right call here. It's not really sort of making the Scum Faction function like the Empire one little bit. Guri is not enough to do that kind of stuff. There's still a lot of upside downside. She's not hyper efficient. She's just hyper unpredictable, which is really cool on the Scum Faction. I really dig the design of this ship.
Yeah, no, it feels very scummy, just not knowing where you are.
Absolutely. Okay, now speaking of our submissions, you guys, we didn't actually have a lot of these submissions off of YouTube. In fact, we haven't had a single submission of the STARVIPER since the points change.
Ooh,
so we've taken one from since before the points change that still works with a slight point adjustment kind of thing, but still is completely legal. So this week we're actually going to do 3 submitted lists by our patrons. And you guys on YouTube, submit some more STARVIPER lists. We will be back on this eventually, and we need some more submissions for this list. Also, just quick PSA as well. We need more lists on the old factions. We have so many submissions for Clone Wars and Separatists, but since the points change, we need submissions for those old lists. For those old factions, because we need something to talk about, because a lot of those have become illegal now.
Yeah, especially... with the new hyperspace ships being legal.
Absolutely. So A-Wings, B-Wings, TIE Bombers, TIE Interceptors, STARVIPERs, like all of these are so relevant right now. In fact, it's very likely that we're going to look at those ships over the next couple of weeks. So right now is a good chance to submit those lists. Okay, moving on to this list here by Psych J7 with Guri, Cavil, and Alterok.
Yeah, now Guri has Fearless, Fire Control System, and the Virago title.
Cavil has Predator, Dorsal Turret, Veteran Turret Gunner, and an R4 Astromech.
And Old Terok has Fearless.
Yeah, which is cool. I like Fearless on Guri. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that's very cheeky.
I actually had a few submissions very similar to this. Another patron submitted a list. Instead of Cavil, there was Fen Rao, which is good because that's hyperspace legal. Always something worth considering. You have to cut Virago because there's just no space for that. But Cavil instead, I really like Cavil. I really like just a good, solid, brawling Y-Wing. 55 points does not feel unreasonable at all.
No, you've sort of got 2 good brawlers with Old Terok and Cavil, and then you've got Guri that just sort of dances around. Yeah,
Old Terok is a weird one. He functions primarily as an ace, but he does not mind if he's outbitted, because he can fly super aggressively and delete tokens. I like Old Terok a lot. I've not had much success with him myself, but it's something that a lot of people are pushing in meta play, so there must be something to this pilot.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, in terms of this Guri build, that's what we're here to talk about. Virago and Fire Control System, just decent value cards. So Virago adds 1 more shield, the ability to do a boost in the end phase, so not something that you would do in conjunction with Afterburners. That's fine, you don't really need to. And for 10 points, I really like that shield on there. That's a very chunky thing to try and shoot through.
Yeah.
4 and 2 shields. It feels so much better than 4 and 1 shield. And I don't know why that threshold is suddenly so much more significant in my mind. That's just the way I think about it.
I think because 5 is a torpedo. Like, if you roll 5 hits, like, that's a possibility of it being deleted all at once.
That's true. That's true. The proton torpedo is 4, but you get a free crit conversion, so it can do 5 damage. Yeah, that's a very good point. I feel like she'll take consistently one more hit. That's what I'm thinking here. So we've gone for a value-driven build with Virago and fire control system and Fearless. So it's a value-driven sort of brawler build that wants to be aggressive. That's cool. I dig that a lot. She gets into range 1, she can proc Fearless, and she can get her ability online. Now, despite the fact that Guri is a droid and only has access to a calculate, she gets a focus token when she lands at range 1 of an opponent.
Yeah.
At the start of the engagement phase, which is really, really good. If it's a lower initiative ship, she can fire at them with 4 red dice. If she procs Fearless, she can take a ship off the board, which is good. I love that kind of tactic. I feel like it, in general, works better with Fen Rao, who can just delete you with 5 dice at range 1.
Yeah.
However, Guri is a bit cheaper. In fact, Fen Rao is 68 points, with Fearless would be 71. Doesn't have micro thrusters, though.
Yeah.
Guri is a lot more unpredictable than Fen Rao. Actually, in the comments, guys, Guri versus Fen Rao, what do you think is probably the more safer option in general? I like something with shields. That's why I are on the side of Guri.
Well, not only, you've got the shields, you've got the micro thrusters. Just feels a bit safer.
Absolutely. This Cavill build is nice and tight. It has one upgrade, which I'm not so sure about in Predator, but Predator covers your bases if you are firing forward. So, for example, Predator, if you catch a guy forward in your bullseye firing arc, you still get essentially the extra dice or the reroll in this case. So it's a value sort of covering your bases insurance kind of card.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Would you rather Fearless instead, or...?
No, I don't think so on the Y-Wing.
No?
First of all, he gets no other... It's another insurance policy, I guess you'd call it. And also, he has to fly very aggressively and catch guys in their arc to make it work. It's very difficult to pull that off on a Y-Wing. Okay. It's fantastic on a Fang fighter, even a Star Viper. Not so convinced about doing it on a Y-Wing. I think Predator is a better choice than Fearless overall. Yeah. I'd absolutely consider Trick Shot, though, for the same amount of points.
Trick Shot is Trick Shot.
Yep, you can fire Cavill's ability through a rock and then fire, 4 dice? No, you can go 5 dice if you get him in range 1 through a rock. Magical Christmas land stuff going on, but I like that Trick Shot gives you another positive dice modification on your red dice. To me, that's a great idea. It means if not all of these things are procking together, you might have 1 or 2 of these things procking, as in Cavill's ability, Trick Shot, range 1 on the dorsal turret, whatever. Also, veteran turret gunner, you might get... You might just pull off the most beautiful range 1 at an opponent, a range 1 through a rock out the side at another opponent with 5 dice. The upside is there. The upside is really there with Trick Shot. And honestly, I think it'll proc as consistently as Predator. Yeah. Predator's pretty rough with the bullseye firing arc.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of bullseye firing arc abilities. I feel like...
It's hard. It's hard for sure. And... it's not like he has expert handling to help him without those barrel rolls. I mean, barrel rolls, initiative 5, it's easier for him than most. It's still a Y-Wing with an unbrilliant dial, so I'm not a huge fan of the bullseye firing arc stuff. I think Trick Shot, absolutely, there's no question in my mind that that's the better option there. Yep. Thanks for that submission, Psych. Let's move along to this one by Dead Man Walk with Old Terok, Guri, and Dalen Oberos.
Yeah, now Old Terok is naked.
Both Guri and Dalen Oberos has advanced sensors.
Yeah, now advanced sensors on a Star Viper is pretty tight.
Pretty tight indeed, because you can do boosts and curved barrel rolls before you move. In combination with those S-loops, you can just do all kinds of disgusting maneuvers. In fact, I will use this visual aid. So if this, for example, wants to do a curved barrel roll before it moves, and then does a 1 tight, it's essentially turning almost 180 degrees backwards.
Yeah.
It can do a curved barrel roll and then do an S-loop out to here, and then it moves directly horizontal and turns back on itself. It's very, very silly. Advanced Sensors has the most upside with what the Star Viper is trying to do. Doesn't mean it's always the best thing to take. I think there's absolutely always a case of fire control system, even though it's not something that wants to target lock all that often. That value for 2 points is fantastic. And collision detector is another one because of being able to boost and barrel roll over rocks.
Which I saw you do it once, and you're just like, I'm in love.
I did an outmaneuver build with Guri and collision detector, and when you pull off Magical Christmas Land scenario, you go over a rock and outmaneuver your opponent's ship. Outmaneuver is another interesting. There's a lot of very interesting cards on this. I will say, just generally, I know, sorry, we should talk about this list, but the biggest issue I think I have with this ship right now is Virago costs 10 points.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very interesting ability, but I don't think it's feasible 99% of the time to take it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I know a lot of people experimented with just Guri Boba at the start of 2nd edition with Virago and like really fat builds. That really didn't prevail in the end.
No, 2-ship builds just didn't work for it.
It's not too bad, but the reality is you can get a 3rd ship on the table with the escape craft, even in hyperspace as well now. So that's one of the big issues I have with the more bloatier options on this. Now this I like. Advanced sensors just on your Star Vipers, no shenanigans, no craziness. It's just very solid. It's very solid. You've got good points ranges.
And Dalen Oberos's ability is just kind of awesome.
Just kind of awesome. After you fully execute maneuver, you may gain 1 stress to rotate your ship 90 degrees. Something that FFG can do now because they added in the marker template into the game, which is very, very handy. It's very, very cheeky. It's doing the same stuff. It's just being unpredictable. Now, unfortunately, he's only Initiative 4, which is so significantly worse than 5. I cannot stress that enough. I know we have a very interesting Initiative 4 entering into the format with General Grievous. Dalen Oberos's ability feels more like an ace ability. That's the biggest issue I have with it.
Yeah.
It's interesting for zoning.
But at the same time, Grievous's ability would be excellent on an ace.
It would, but it also works well if you have to fly first and you can force your opponent into bad situations. Dalen Oberos, you can point your Star Viper at something, but it's only a 3 red dice attack that your opponent might just token up against. I feel like the aces can answer it too well. That's the problem I have with Dalen Oberos. If it was Initiative 5, I'd be very, very interested in it. However, I'm not interested in FFG just slapping Initiative 5 on a whole heap of things. I think the right call is to try and make ships relevant at different initiatives. So I'm not suggesting they just change this. Not that they could anyway, it's printed on the card. But very cool nonetheless. Advanced Sensors, it's unpredictable. If your opponent is flying lower initiative stuff, you can really punish them. And that's really solid. With Old Terok as well, like this is going to prey on low initiative ships.
Yeah, all of a sudden CIS seeing that would just be a little bit scared.
Yes, I don't know how well it would fare against a Vulture Swarm. I mean, here's the thing about StarVipers. I keep thinking this whenever I fly them. You have to eliminate so many of those vulture guns. You have to fly in such a way that like none of the vultures can hit it, which is not crazy. It's not undoable. They have so much reach and so much flexibility in the way they fly. But if they're going to if they're going to do crazy positioning and get stressed and not have any tokens, they have to nail it every time because those vultures will hammer them otherwise.
Yeah.
And then upside with Dalen Oberos, Initiative 4, higher initiative than any vulture droid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all 1s and 3s.
You've also got 3 green dice, though, and that feels pretty good against...
It does, but green dice can betray you.
Oh, definitely.
Green dice can absolutely betray you. I will say, though, they are more interesting in a universe with gas clouds. That's something I will absolutely say about the Star Vipers. The fact that they can do their shenanigans through gas clouds. You can use advanced sensors to do an action before you fly through a gas cloud and go, well, I don't care about losing the action anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
That's such a cheeky thing they're able to do. It's something I should play around with.
I used to do advanced sensors and do the action before going through the debris field.
Yep.
That also felt good.
That's a thing you can do as well. And actually, from that point of view, do gas clouds make Dalen Oberos more enticing? Because say you have to fly before an ace, but you can guarantee that there's no way they're going to shoot you not through a gas cloud. I actually like him a lot better when I think of him like that.
That's true.
That's very interesting. He can advance sensors like a focus, and then S-loop through a gas cloud. Yeah, okay. No, that's that's something that very interesting. Dead Man Walk, Jake, if you're watching, give us a go with gas clouds. I think that's something which is going to give this a bit of incidental upside.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, Scum Aces. Let's make it work, guys. Let's make it work. Okay, moving right along, a list by Rob2984 with Guri and 2 Black Sun Assassins. We have an all STARVIPER list.
Yeah, now this is Guri with Outmaneuver, Shield Upgrade, and the Virago title.
And those Black Sun Assassins both have Outmaneuver. Outmaneuver is the max upside card on the STARVIPER.
Yeah, but Shield Upgrade?
Shield Upgrade, yeah, this is not really a thing I'm that excited about. Oh, I completely respect the fact that you have 3 shields, and that's pretty good.
That feels good.
That's a tank of a ship to shoot through.
Yeah, but if you put on collision detector instead,
you can put on collision detector in the sensor slot. Correct. It's 2 points less. You can also put on afterburners in the modification spot for 2 points less.
And I think those feel a little bit better.
Especially because you take outmaneuver, you have gone all in on that positioning. Yes, you have to stress yourself to do the barrel roll or boost, then S-loop. Guess what? You get dice modifications regardless.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by max upside. It does the work for you when you can't take tokens. And the defender just rolls 1 fewer defense die. Indeed. By the way, my general preference on Guri is trick shot.
Yeah.
Because of her positioning, you can exploit that more than you already can. It's already a steal for 2 points. I know.
Trick shot. We keep talking about trick shot, but it's 2 points, and sometimes it's better than outmaneuver.
That's true. Sometimes your opponent's ship do not roll green dice. That's just the thing. However, outmaneuver, yes, you can exploit, and against some ships, it's really, really nasty.
Yeah.
And honestly, there is no better platform for outmaneuver. There just isn't. No other ship has this level of predictability. It's good on a TIE Interceptor. Don't get me wrong. It's better on a STARVIPER, though, because they have barrel rolls and S-loops and all that kind of stuff, that curves and woohoo, I'm over here now.
Yeah.
I think, the conversation about this is around collision detector or afterburners. I agree. Shield upgrade is nice. I don't think we really want to be tanking with this ship. Actually, we've got Virago. I just realised that. So we're definitely looking collision detector here.
Yeah.
Collision detector further unlocks outmaneuver because you have more positions that you can fly into. I think that's probably the safer bet. But yeah, Rob, this is interesting. I think the biggest issue I have with this is it's 3 STARVIPERs, and they're a bit squishy. You've really got to leverage that unpredictability. You basically have to prevent your opponent from shooting you a lot of times. Every little decision matters a lot when you fly a list like this. It's almost like flying a 2-ship list.
Yeah.
Every little thing matters. One bad maneuver that causes your opponent to get a lot of guns, even on one of those Black Sun Assassins, they're too expensive just to lose.
Yeah.
And you're chasing your tail at that point, so you've got to be so careful with this kind of thing. Like, I'd spread them out across the whole table and try and just do all the kind... I wouldn't fly them in formation, because then your opponent knows where to... Yeah. It's tough. But the upside's there with that maneuver. It's the kind of thing that can do well. Just got to be so careful. These kind of lists are in a tough spot in 2nd edition right now. It reminds me of like a Vader TIE Defender, where if you make one bad decision, you've lost a ship and you are stuffed at that point, pretty much.
Yeah.
A similar kind of list is... from this YouTube submission by Thomas Chandler. Thank you for the submission.
Yeah.
With Guri and a couple of Black Sun Assassins again.
But this time Guri has Daredevil, Advanced Sensors, and Afterburners.
In fact, they all have Daredevil and Afterburners. And this is really, really interesting. So we've exploited more upside with that positioning by taking Daredevil and Afterburners. You can do both in one turn. Hey, that's kind of fun.
Oh, that is cheeky.
Yeah, you can S-loop and boost. You can do a red hard turn if you really, really need to. It's very handy for positioning's sake.
Just imagine doing that S-loop and then a red hard turn.
You can perform a boost action even while stressed. And while you perform a white boost action, treat it as red. You may treat it as a red to make it a 1 hard. That's very interesting. You can S-loop and do a hard turn.
That's...
Now, again, it's more positioning with no tokens. End of the day, how much more positioning ability do you need? That's the question around this.
And not only that, you've then got 2 stress to deal with.
I think in situations that's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's the end of the world. Even just having Daredevil as something you can do without using afterburners at some stage is something in the conversation for sure. I mean, you can't just use the afterburners charge and then use the red maneuver, because then you just wouldn't have an action. There's no point spending that charge. You just take the regular action regardless.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Although after you fully execute a 3 to 5 speed maneuver, you can do that on a rock as well. Yeah. Just to be extra cheeky, you can do that on a rock. You have to be clear of the rock on the other side, otherwise you're not doing a legal boost. That's kind of interesting. My brain just keeps saying to me, yeah, cool, you can have all the best positions you want, but if you don't have tokens or platforms, it doesn't really matter. Honestly, guys, I love this kind of stuff, but I do err on the side of giving yourself a bit more value and maybe not leaning so heavily on that Star Viper, because you lean on this, it'll just break. I mean, look at that. That's not something you can lean on. I'm personally interested in terms of hyperspace play. A lot of people have been running Boba Fett, Old Terok, and Lando in the Escape Craft.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about switching out Old Terok for Guri. Which is something you can do. That's what I'm seriously looking at. Yeah. I like the Fang Fighter, but I like the StarViper more. So that's something I'm looking at for tournament play myself.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think when you start to do things like that, you get enough chunk in your list that you're not leaning so heavily on a ship that can just pop if it doesn't get positioned right. Boba Fett with Kira now as well is very interesting, because he also has some very similar shenanigans. Yeah. He can fly through the rock in the center of the board and do some really annoying positioning. And he also cares about being in range one of your opponent. So aggression is really fun on the Scum faction. It's an archetype I've enjoyed for quite a long time.
Definitely.
But yes, thank you so much for all of those submission, guys. Really interested in this platform. It's a lot of fun. Like, at the end of the day, even if it's not competitive, which I think it is, but even if it's not, it's so much fun to fly.
Yeah, something completely different.
Absolutely. In the comment section below, guys, is there any list you'd like us to have a look at? Please just copy in all the parts and upgrades for the list with the squad point cost and everything. Also, at the bottom, a link to that list within your favourite squad builder, whether that be yet another squad builder. Launch Bay Next that's an app-based one, but like the official squad builder, anything like that really helps out a lot when we have those links as well.
Yeah, we're then able to quickly do this and
bring up stuff. On the screen in front of us right now are the list within yet another squad builder. So it helps if we already have that link. If you're part of the Patreon Discord, just drop that into the appropriate channel on that. In the meantime, do not forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Please consider supporting the Patreon. And patrons, thank you for helping us with this one. Got some real fun lists to talk about here. I'm glad you guys want to talk about StarVipers, because I've wanted to talk about them for a while now. We'll revisit them when we can. In the meantime, we'll catch you later.
Bye.